Welcome to class. This is your lecturer on Gram. My name is Reverend Dr. Eso Andelugba, the president for Chosen College of Theological Studies, Research and Chaplaincy, and also your chief chaplain, the host of this program. Um, I welcome you all to this chaplaincy training of this stage one, where we are going to be talking about spiritual care and chaplaincy studies. And in this course, we have 6 modules here. The module one says Foundations of Chaplaincy, the history, theology, and the calling. Then we have the module 2, which is pastoral care skills and spiritual assessment. And the module 3 says interfaith and cultural competence. Then module 4 says chaplains in context, the settings and case studies. Module 5 says ethics, leadership, and professional practice in chaplaincy. Then the last module 6 says personal formation and reflective practice. So let us look at what this course is all about. You see, this program it equips learners to serve as professional spiritual caregivers and chaplains, blending theological insights and practical skills to support people in crisis or transitions. So, and let us look at who can take this course or who can be a chaplain. Who can be a chaplain? The first group are the ministry students and leaders like lay ministers, theological students, or ordained clergy seeking to extend their pastoral skills into chaplaincy roles. Also, healthcare and social service professionals like nurses, counselors, social workers, or volunteers who wish to integrate spiritual care into their practice. Also, we have community and faith workers, like those serving in diverse communities, like in prison, in the military, in schools, in corporations, or emergency services. And in these settings of people, they may be in need of skills in spiritual support and interfaith care. Also, we have spiritual care advocates, like individuals from any religious or non-religious background, passionate about offering inclusive pastoral care, like people from all religions and people with spiritual backgrounds that may work as spiritual care providers. And the last, anyone called to chaplaincy. If you feel down to provide non-denominational spiritual support, whether as a career or volunteer, this intermediate course will deepen your knowledge and practices. So the benefits of this course is it enhances competency and confidence. It allows participants to gain practical skills development, and it has theoretical insight. Like you will learn more about chaplaincy models and the theology aspect of it, and then the interfaith and cultural sensitivity. You will be able to know how to relate with other religions, and then you're going to develop a strong professional identities based on our partnership and our credibility in this institution. Then, alongside, you're going to have a personal growth. Going to have a personal growth. Then, what are the career opportunities that we have here? We have care chaplaincy. We have military and veterans chaplaincy. Then we have correctional or prison chaplaincy. We have police, fire, and first responder chaplaincy. We have educational institutions. We have corporate work chaplaincy. We have community and social work, social service chaplaincy. We have interfaith ministry, and so on and so forth. So let us look at the module one. Module one that talks about foundations of chaplaincy, the history, theology, and the calling of chaplaincy. And before we can talk about chaplaincy, what does chaplaincy really entails? What does it mean? Because you might have been hearing about people calling themselves chaplains, or you might be seeing some tags on clothes, some on the social media saying chaplain, or chaplaincy. We say that chaplaincy is a specialized form of spiritual care that serves people in secular institutions and communities. So, who is now a chaplain? Before we say who is a chaplain, the first chaplain we have it as a Judeo-Christian cleric or a lay representative of a religious tradition attached to a secular institution such as a military unit, prison unit, hospital unit, university unit, even in ship unit. So, in other words, chaplains brings pastoral ministry into non-church settings. So, chaplaincy is a ministry of presence and care that nurtures the spiritual and emotional life of people, irrespective of their religious backgrounds. So let us look at historical development of chaplaincy. The roots of chaplaincy are ancient. Like we have legend links the term chaplain to Saint Martin's of Tours in the 4th century. Martin's caught his cape, called capa in Latin word, to clothe a beggar. After Martin's death, the cape, called capella, became a sacred relic, and the custodian of the relic was called a capellanus, meaning chaplain. So someone who takes care of others are called chaplain. Someone who respects others and takes care of others are called chaplains. So, as one writer notes that chaplains today continues to guard the sacred and to share his or her cape out of compassion. To share his or her cape out of compassion. So, in practical terms, chaplaincy enter public life through former military and naval ministries. In the medieval, commanders were required to retain priests to care for all soldiers. And in 8th century, in England, the first recorded chaplains served on naval vessels. So when you look at the militaries, especially in the navy or in the naval, they respect chaplains and they regard chaplains so well, it's so much that they don't just recruit chaplains into naval. They first of all check out the background of that person and the everything about that person. So they don't just recruit what's it called, chaplains into naval or into any channel. So as a student of CCTSRC, Department of Chaplaincy, you must take note that you are on the right track, in so much that if you are willing to go into any departmental institution, our institution covers you well. If you want to go into police, if you want to go into military, if you want to go into education, if you want to go into corporate, just wherever you want to go. When it is time for the proper training of departmental section, you will know how it goes. So over the centuries, chaplaincy expanded beyond warfare. Clergy began serving in prisons, offering religious services and counsel to inmates. In colonies and schools, and in the emerging hospitals and hospices of the 18th and 19th centuries. So by the 20th century, chaplaincy was a recognized profession with its own training standards. So the modern chaplaincy education reflects this broad history. For example, one seminary course description says that description explicitly mention exposure to hospital, prison, hospice, military, police, industry, and sport chaplaincy settings. So when we look at the system in which chaplains operate, we are more of just a counselor that can just be in a subsystem, but chaplain has broad range to operate, in so much that we care for others to live a life, that pleases God, that pleases others, a well-being, life that can make chaplains to say that I am well done. So when we look at the um, theological models, of chaplaincy, we say chaplaincy is theologically rich, described through various models that interpret how spiritual care is offered. One framework says it outlines models like pastoral, sacramental, prophetic, and others. So the other examples include pastoral care models. In theological models, we have pastoral care models where the chaplain acts like caring pastor to the community. So in this view, the chaplain's role is primarily one of the personal care and counseling. So for instance, chaplain in this model spend time listening to individuals' concerns and offering comfort, as one source observes that the primary model here is one of the care that chaplains gives. Chaplains must be able to listen and care for others. So we have sacramental presence or sacramental model. Sacramental presence in the system. In this system, we have chaplain present itself as sacred. We must present ourselves respected and sacred. That any form of corruption, any bad traces must not be linked to a chaplain, because linking any bad traces to chaplain might lead to legal actions and disqualification in the profession, and might cause a lot of damages in the professions. So chaplains often report that simply being with people in their environment provides spiritual support, ministry, by being rather than doing. So let us know that. So we have a prophetic model. The chaplain serves as an ethical advocate and questionnaire, being part of the organization but not in the normal chain of command. A chaplain can raise a difficult question and critique institutional practices. So chaplains describe these as being a critical friend to all, speaking up on behalf of vulnerable individuals or value chaplains. So when we look at the system of chaplain, we ensure that people are not molested. People are not uh, pinned down by power or by any kinds of authority given to anyone to do such. Chaplains always serves as advocate to everyone in the community. So we also have discerning a calling to chaplaincy. How do we discern this? As we have that many chaplains understand their work as a vocation. It is a calling from God to serve others outside traditional congregations. So when you are a chaplain, you must know that you are to serve people. You are to serve people. You are to serve vulnerable people, people of low life, and the people of high standard, the nobles, irrespective of titles. The care that you're going to give a noble person is the same care you are going to give to a vulnerable person. So take note of that. And we also said that chaplains often describe their call as a passion to help the most vulnerable. The passion to help the most vulnerable. So let us take note of that. And then we have roles and settings of chaplains in the society. The roles and settings of chaplains in the society. What are the roles? As we have today, chaplains serve in a wide array of institutions and roles adapting their care to each context. In healthcare, chaplains are integrated members of patient care teams. They provide supportive spiritual care through empathic listening and counseling. They help patients and families cope with illness and grief and lead religious ceremonies like baptism prayer services or memorials. So chaplains also participate in ethics and consultations and educate medical staff about the spiritual needs of patients. And in military, their roles as first responder in environment, chaplains accompany service members like police officers, firefighters, and disaster workers. They conduct worship services after confidential counseling for stress and trauma and support morale. For example, police chaplain respond to line of study deaths and critical incidents, assisting with respectful death notifications to families and providing grief counseling to officers. So chaplains in prison facilitate faith-based program and counseling to inmates as part of rehabilitation efforts. Chaplains also appear in education, business, and community settings. Many universities employ campus chaplains or ministers to mentor students and organize support programs. Some public schools have chaplains for student welfare. So in the corporate as well and non-profit sectors, chaplains provide counseling, crisis response, and wellness support for employees and members. And in short, chaplaincy has a broad reach. One overview notes that chaplains serve in hospitals, prisons, military bases, and corporate offices, reflecting these diversities. So this is the end of module 1. This is the end of module 1. So you are going to answer this question. You are going to answer this question. The question says that how will you handle a situation where someone of a different faith asks you to pray with them? How will you handle a situation where someone of a different faith asks you to pray with them? That's the first question. So we move to module 2 right now. We have pastoral care skills and spiritual assessment. With this, pastoral care training equips caregivers with essential counseling and spiritual support skills to help individuals facing life challenges. So as we have that in educational settings as well, students learn to engage others compassionately, honor diverse belief system, and integrate spiritual resources into holistic care. So there's one thing about this module that we need to understand. The first one is active listening and communication skills. Active listening is a foundational pastoral skill. Effective listening is far from a passive process. It requires truly understanding what the person means and then communicating that understanding understanding what the person is saying. This approach demonstrates the caregiver's willingness to understand the other's concern and build trust. Build trust. Take note of that. To build trust. So in practice, active listening means giving full attention. For example, giving eye contact, giving open posture, just to make sure that the person knew that the client that you are attending to is aware is aware of your attention. So using simple acknowledgement and reflecting what is hard, it is it is part of method of gaining trust from our client. Then also we have the key of active listening. The techniques that we need in active listening are paraphrasing. Paraphrasing. How do we paraphrase? Paraphrase is to restate the speaker's message in your own words to confirm understanding. The speaker's message in your own words to confirm understanding. Then reflective feelings. That is acknowledging and naming the speaker's emotion. For example, you seem worried by asking a question. You seem worried, you need to relay the question back. That so asking this type of question shows that you have empathy about what that person is telling you. Then summarizing, briefing, briefly recapping what has been said to ensure clarity. You don't just conclude, you don't just assume. And then we have open-ended questions, asking questions that invite deeper sharing. For example, how does this affect you? When you are attending to a client as a chaplain, you must be able to ask reasonable questions. And then number five, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number five, then we have focused attention. We must be able to avoid distractions and allowing silence when needed. So these skills often require practice since they differ from everyday conversational habits. So you must be able to understand um, how to listen to or how to gain the trust of your client as a chaplain. Then we have spiritual history taking and assessment. This one involves asking about a person's belief, values, practices, and sources of meaning. When you are a chaplain and you are to attend to anyone, you must be able to find out the spiritual or the faith background of that person, so that you don't go beyond where you are not supposed to go. For example, you are a Christian chaplain, you must be able to figure out that is this person of the same faith as me, or this person is just the same is of different faith. So when you discover that this person is of different faith, then you'll be able to align with the faith of that person with respect and value. So that person will note that you really care about him or her. So let us take note of that. Then we have common assessment models, which include FICA, which is Faith Importance Community Address. And then we have FACT, FACT. FACT, meaning that faith availability, coping and treatment. And then we have HOPE, 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 organized religion, personal spirituality, effect on care. So understanding this common assessment, then you'll be able to know how to lead and how to attend and gain trust of your client. And then we also have something we need to take note in this module: responding to grief and loss. Responding to grief and loss. As a chaplain, you must learn this skill to support people expressing grief. You must learn it. So, listening without judgment. When you acknowledge the loss and you allow the person to express pain and sorrow, Then you must be able to understand how to intervene. How to intervene. What are the models and what are the models in which you can intervene? The first one is providing a listening ear and empathetic silence when someone is pouring out his or her mind. Then number two, using comforting through rituals or reading that aligns with this person's belief. You must be able. There is nothing bad as a chaplain. If you are a chaplain, you are to expose to every religion. You are to expose to every religion without having the mentality of renouncing your faith. Are you getting me now? So there is one course called Christian apologetics. So with this Christian apologetics, you'll be able to understand how to defend your faith personally and with others, and how to relate with other religions through comparative religion. So with these two courses, you'll be able to understand how to stand on your own as in your faith. Then, when you have to relate with other religious settings or religious circles, you'll be able to relate with them professionally as a chaplain. Then number three, helping connect the person with support network like family, faith, community, or grief support group. Then offering practical aid and referrals, for example, to grief counselor or community service, because not everyone will be in grief, uh, will be able to operate in the grief channel. But if you know that you cannot operate in these settings, you can contact the base of the CCTS RC Chaplaincy. You can contact the base, then the person in charge, the commander in charge of grief chaplaincy will be able to relay refer you to someone who will be able to attend to the case. But as a chaplain, you must be able to understand how to attend grief and loss, um, grief and loss matters. Then the last one, addressing spiritual questions or doubt. You must be able to support the person as they wrestle with the meaning, with the meaning of faith after a loss, because some people might be pondering with a lot of questions after they are facing a lot of grief and loss in their life. So let us take note of that. Then we have trauma-informed spiritual care. Trauma-informed spiritual care. We have that modern pastoral training integrate informed care principles. Caregivers or chaplains learn trauma's effects can impact a person's spiritual and emotional well-being as well as the body. So as a chaplain, you must be able to attend and give proper counseling, proper orientation, and proper spiritual care to the infected person. The safety here, there's one thing we call safety in chaplaincy. The safety we are talking about here is how to build trust. Because as a chaplain, you must be transparent and keep promises. That's part of your safety precautions. And then number two, you must note and have the choice, and you must note and understand choice and autonomy. That is, letting the person decide if or how they wish to proceed. You don't force anyone to say anything. You don't force anybody to sit on your table. It is you are only to attend to anything that comes your way. You're only to attend to anything that comes your way. Then collaboration. You must partner with others. Then empowerment. You must focus on strength and coping skills. So we also have mental health crisis intervention. Mental health crisis intervention. Awareness of mental health issues is strongly emphasized. Chaplains or caregivers learn to recognize conditions like depression, anxiety, and substance use, or suicidal ideation, and to respond appropriately. So, as a chaplain, you must be able to respond to anyone who is having mental issues due to one of the things. So, we must be able to operate as a pastoral counselors, as you may receive basic training in suicide prevention, psychological first aid, and crisis escalation. So you must also learn how to refer individuals to therapists, social workers, or crisis services when a situation exceeds pastoral scope. So take note of that. So for example, in a hospital, in hospital settings, a chaplain might offer prayer and presence during a psychiatric emergency, but also ensure the patient has access to mental health team. You get it now. So and then we have ethics and boundaries, ethics and professional boundaries. Ethics and professional boundaries. Ethical practice is woven throughout pastoral training. The key principle include, take note of this, the key principle of chaplain ethics is confidentiality. Confidentiality. The second one is respect for each person's belief and culture and maintaining appropriate professional boundaries. So take note of that. As a chaplain, you must keep confidentials and you must respect everyone's belief, and you must give a proper distance, and you must not do anything in enclosure. So taking note of this will help you go further in the system. So let us take note of this. Let us take note of this. That is the end of the module 2. Then we have interfaith and cultural competence. That we are in module 3 now. Interfaith and cultural competence. In modern healthcare and community settings, chaplains encounter people from an increasing diversity of faiths and beliefs. Global trend shows a diversification of religious, spiritual, and secular life. Patients and families may hold varying views on suffering, healing, and purpose. So, to provide a holistic care, chaplains must be prepared to minister across this pluralistic landscape. So, understanding faith traditions in suffering, healing, and community. Chaplains should understand core beliefs in different faiths to relate respectively. Christian teachings, for example, holds that Christ's own suffering has meaning and redemption. Chaplains learn that God's call to heal encompasses all forms of support for sick, disabled, dying, and marginalized people, regardless of their faith. Prayer, sacrament like anointing, and congregational support are common healing practices. So, as we have in churches, churches often stress that community, the body of the believer, provides comfort through shared rituals and fellowship. Islam teaches that suffering can be a trial from God, building patience and faith. Teaching, okay, Islam teaches that suffering can be a trial from God, building patience and faith. So teaching emphasizing caring for the sick as a sacred duty. So as as a chaplain, you must be able to relate with others, with other beliefs or non-belief, and you must be able to know that each every religion at every religion, everyone deserve equal respect. You must understand that everyone deserve equal respect. You know, you don't operate biasly, you operate professionally. As we have that many people identify as spiritual but not religious or secular. For them, finding meaning may involve nature, ethics, or personal values. So effective interfaith care treat religious and non-religious belief equally. So you must understand that very, very well. As you also have that chaplains practice cultural humility in every interactions. So as we have in the research that research wants that cultural insensitivity is usually not intentional, but comes from a lack of knowledge of another's frame of reference. So when you don't have the reference to acknowledge others' belief, then you are not fit to be a chaplain. A chaplain must be able to do what? To reference others and respect others' faith. So let us look at interfaith dialogue skills. Number one, finding common ground. That is identifying shared human values like compassion, hope, love to connect with someone's faith. For instance, many faith value healings and kindness. Talking about these shared values can ease tension. And then number two, we have open questions. Ask question what like the kind of question that make the person to know that you are you are saying something meaningful to them. And then affirming language. Like if a person's faith is unfamiliar, use a gentle phrase like, I'm happy to honor your tradition. Or, how can our team respect your custom? This honors diversity and avoids offense. Then we have reflective responses. Reflective responses. When someone shares belief, when someone shares beliefs, this reflects by summarizing, like it sounds like your faith teaches something else, right? So this verifies understanding and shows you listened. It shows you listen. And then we have inclusivity. Inclusivity. In team settings, encouraging including religious rituals that matter to the preachers. For example, a chaplain leading any prayer requested. Because a Muslim might encounter someone that is not of your faith and request you to pray for him or her is also pattern. So you must learn how to lead universal prayers when appropriate, and you must adapt quickly to any tradition. So take note of that as a as as a chaplain. Take note of that. That's the end of module 3. Then we are in module 4 now. Chaplain in context, settings, and case. Like you have said, we have chaplains that operate um, in healthcare hospital in healthcare. We have healthcare chaplaincy, right? Which is we found them in hospitals and hospices. So what are their works there? They provide spiritual care to patients, to family, and the staff. So, and then they work on medical units, emergency rooms, and hospice wards, addressing crisis, chronic illness, and end of life needs. So, a hospital chaplain's role is multifaceted. They have multiple roles, and they can appear in any unit in the hospital, in any healthcare settings. So they are majorly spiritual leaders, they are majorly counselors, they are patient advocates who offer compassion and perspective during uncertainty or grief. So, and then chaplains also conduct bedside visits before and after surgeries, assist families through health crises, and provide support of exhausted staff. So, taking note of this, we have you learning well. And there's one thing for chaplains to understand in these settings is that training for healthcare chaplaincy typically involves clinical pastoral education. Clinical pastoral education. This one is very, very important for any chaplains that wants to operate in healthcare settings. Then we have military and first aid respondent chaplaincy. Military and first aid respondent chaplaincy. So in this sector, they serve personnel who face extreme stress, trauma, and high task duty. So though it is distinct, so this context share common features, but in paramilitary structure or tight-knit service culture, frequently exposed to strategy and the need for strict confidentiality. So in this, anyone operating in these settings must be able to keep rules, must be able to keep confidentials safe and respect boundaries. So and then we have corrections and prison chaplaincy, like people in prisons and jails, which are closed institutions with rigid routines and high security concerns. So chaplains here minister to inmates and staff, often under their challenging conditions. So anyone in these settings must be able to be free of crimes. So you don't just go there and do something else. And there are things you must understand as a prison chaplains is that uh, you must you must have knowledge of the institutional rules like movement restrictions and contraband policies, because a chaplain in that system cannot behave or cannot act anyhow. Such must be able to understand the roles and the how to operate in the system. So when you have your um, when you have your course material, when you log in to the course material, you're going to see the system. We are going to see your course material very well. You're going to see it. Then that's the end of the module 4. We don't have much time, so they can. Then we have educational chaplaincy. So like they operate. You also operate in primary in colleges and universities. They operate in and so they what are their roles? They are training. Their training emphasizes interreligious competence. Since educational institutions are religiously diverse, chaplains learn to shepherd student emotional landscapes, connecting them to campus resources like counseling centers, academic accommodations, health services, and so on and so forth, when appropriate. So they may also run groups of workshops on interfaith understanding stress management. They may also run groups or workshops on interfaith understanding, stress management, or meaning making amid social pressure. So on occasion, tablets become key participants in campus-wide events, like in universities often call on chaplains to help lead vigil after a tragedy or immediate during a protest. So chaplains operate in that system as well. And then we have workplace chaplaincy. Workplace chaplaincies. So these chaplains serve employees in corporate, non-profit, and government organizations. They aim promote holistic well-being, addressing emotional, spiritual, and personal issues in conjunction with professional life. Trends indicates that more companies are embedding chaplaincy into their wellness program to create supportive and inclusive cultures. So chaplain in the workplace may be integrated to human resources or employee assistance program. So taking note of this, we have your system, and there are things chaplains in every settings is a confidential. That's one of the that is a um, key ethics of chaplains. So we have that is what we have there. Then module 5. I think this is module 5. Yes, which is ethics, leadership, and professional practice. As we know that the chaplains serve as both spiritual counselors and institutional leaders, right? And their work is guided by rigorous professional standards. So they must respect confidentiality and patient rights while upholding ethical principles. For example, professional guidelines state that the chaplain respect the confidentiality of information in accordance to in accordance with federal and state laws. So in practice, this means sharing patients' information only with permission or when legally required, in keeping with privacy laws like HIPAA. So chaplains also support patients' autonomy. They honor patients' rights to participate in care decisions and ensure information is explained clearly. By treating every person with dignity, honoring diverse beliefs. Chaplains put ethical values into action. So, core ethical tenets include respect for persons. We must respect and uphold each other's dignity, culture, and faith. Then, number two, professional boundaries. Chaplains must maintain only professional relationship with care recipients, avoiding any exploitation or harassment. Then number three, confidentiality, keeping all personal or medical information private except when disclosure is needed for care or by law. Then we have number four, legal compliance. Follow up patient rights and privacy regulations. For example, participate in patient family centered care and ethics consultation. So with this, as a chaplain, you must be able to know how to relate with others and how to operate in your professions. So this stage is just what is it called? It's just introduction or introductory level to the chaplaincy. So let us take note of this very well. We have key leadership and advocacy activities. Number one, building institutional support. Building institutional support. Like how chaplain champion policies, recognizing spiritual care as an official part of patient care. They communicate with management and stakeholders to integrate chaplaincy into hospital or agency strategies. And then we have aligning with organizational goals. They explain how spiritual care aligns with treatment plans and the institution missions. So we must be able to align with the goals of the organization. Then developing programs. Chaplains also plan and lead worship services, grief supporting groups, or staff retreat to foster community and healing. For example, many chaplains run interfaith prayer services and coordinate support group for patients, families, or staff during times of crisis. And then we have modeling professional leadership. Modeling professional leadership. So, how do we have a modeling professional active? Is by acting ethically and competently. Chaplains set a positive example, earning trust and helping colleagues to see the value of spiritual care. So, in this way, chaplains integrate spiritual care into the life and services of institution, making it accessible and respected as part of holistic care. So taking note of this will help you to move further very well. So and that is and then we have something we call ethical decision making in chaplaincy. In any organization we find ourselves as a chaplains, we note that chaplains plays a critical role in ethical decision making within healthcare teams. Trained in spiritual and moral perspectives, chaplains bring a unique insight when difficult decisions arise. So they regularly participate in ethics committees or consultation to support patients, to support patients' values and beliefs. This role, chaplains apply core ethical principles like respect, justice, beneficence, and non-malfeasance. So to the real cases, for instance, if a patient's family is conflicted about withdrawing life support, a chaplain might clarify the patient's religious preferences and comfort spiritual distress, helping the team to reach a level of respectful a level of respectful resolution. So let's take note of this. In summary, chaplains contribute to ethics processes by clarifying goals of care from a spiritual perspective, supporting patients and families' beliefs, and participating in policies discussions. This collaborative, value driven approach to ethics helps healthcare institutions to honor the whole person, body, mind, and spirit. So let us take note of this. Then we have self and care ethics. Self and care ethics. In this system, maintaining personal resilience is part of ethical practice. Chaplains engage in structured self-care and ongoing education to sustain their ministry. They also join ethics committees supporting decisions that respect values. So by integrating this principle, chaplains fulfill their professional missions to bring compassionate, holistic care into health social institutions and lead in ways that uplift both individuals and the organizations. So let us take note of that. That's the end of this module 5. Then the last modules, which is personal formation and reflective care. Personal formation and reflective care. So I want you to answer these questions as well. This is second question. This is second question. The second question says, how would you comfort someone who is sick, grieving, or in crisis? How would you comfort someone who is sick, grieving, or who is in crisis? Then, third question, where can a chaplain serve outside the church? Where can a chaplain serve outside the church? So that's the third question. So we move on. We have personal formation and reflective practice. We say personal formation and reflective practice is a vital module that focuses on the chaplain's own spiritual and emotional development. It encourages students to engage in reflective exercises such as journaling, meditation, and group briefings, and to build self-awareness and resilience. So as a chaplain, there are things you must understand about yourself. You must develop self-awareness and resilience. That is, when you are caring for others, before you can care effectively for others, you must start with knowing yourself as a chaplain. When you are able to care for yourself very well, then you'll be able to care for others. So that's all what this module 6 is talking about. So as we have that, chaplains who actively engage in self-care habits such as compassionate reflection, relaxations, and building supportive relationships report higher job satisfaction, much lower burnout. So with this, as a chaplain, you must be able to know how to take care of yourself. That is all we can say about these modules. So when we go to major training, you are going to see uh, how you can align yourself with the system properly. So when you have access to the portal, when you have access, this is how you are going to have access to the portal. You are going to open laplagemetaverse.org as displayed on the screen. I'm going to open laplagemetaverse.org, log in, register, and then log in.